My name is Brian Crable. I'm a member of the Confederate Tribes of Grand Ronde. I grew up all over the place in Grand Ronde, and mostly up Agency is where I spent most of my life at my grandma's house. That's where I found home to be, is up Agency, and so that's why I named my business Agency Creek Expressions.
Brian Crable is a Grand Ronde tribal member making traditional canoes and items from his workshop in Wilhelmina, Oregon.
My plans with the property itself is to create a space where you can come and learn and take the canoe outside and go out on that little waterway that I have. I'll plant my weaving supplies over there, and that way we can go gather right here and then just weave, and it's that full circle of creating our items.
He has plans for his business, Agency Creek Expressions, to not only build culturally significant tribal items, but to also teach and pass on the traditions that were nearly driven to extinction. But for now, Crable is working on a Chinook canoe.
So we'll talk about this canoe. This is more of a hybrid, that's what we call it, a hybrid canoe. All the traditional lines are taken off a dugout and applied to this, and then the modern technology of the plywood and the fiberglass is what we used in order to create that shape. How we start the canoe is in a lot of plywood. It's a marine grade Hydrotech. It's rot resistant. And then we cut out the pieces, and it's kind of like a puzzle, and we put it together, and then we glue it with epoxy. We'll glue up all the bottom, and then we'll glass the top, or we'll glass the inside. We leave the bottom not glassed. So then when we get ready to attach our sides, so we glue up all of our sides together too, by using a finger joint system to make one solid plank. And then we glass up everything but the tail, because I steam the back of the canoes to give it the bustle that is needed for when the wave comes behind us. It's like it helps to keep us up above the wave by creating that bustle. And then we'll add our sheer streak, our gunnels. Our gunnels are ash, just like the ones that are in our traditional canoes. This is the same shape as the one that's in the Portland Historical Society. It's from the mouth of the river, Columbia River. It's a Chinook canoe, and all the measurements were taken off it, and then we were able to start making some of our traditional canoes again. And so we'll use as many elements that were in our traditional canoes besides the log. If I ever get a log that happens to fall down in the windstorm or however that is, and somebody says, "Hey Brian, we'd like you to learn, teach yourself how to make a dugout." I've made several little models so I could wrap my mind around how to make them and steam them open. So I'm itching at that opportunity. So then once we get this part on, then I put on our gunnels. This is our gunnels onto our sheer streak, and then I'll create right here, I call it like a self bailer, because when the waves come up and hit it, it does this, and it reflects on top of itself. So yeah, and then I graft on cedar for the harpoon rest, and then the nose is cedar, the ears are cedar, because this whole part will get cedar added to it, and the heart is cedar, the tail will be cedar. This is all still in the designing phase. I mean, we're all still experimenting, my teacher and myself, experimenting ways to make this even better, which is hard to do because all of the things that our ancestors put into our canoes, anything that was unnecessary has already been taken out in a way, and so they're flawless in a way, however that is.
Crable says with access to all the parts, creating a canoe can take up to a month. With the COVID-19 precautions, it's now taking even longer.
So after it gets in this shape, then there's just adding some flair, painting. Painting takes a couple of days just to let it dry and then touch up. And then all your gluing and carving. So I carved the cedar harpoon rest, the nose, the tail, and the heart, just like we'd normally carve them with a crooked knife or a slight bent knife or an adze to rough it out.
Crable is one of the few in the area being commissioned for canoes. He hopes another aspect of his business will be to ignite the passion for traditional canoe making in other tribes of Oregon. If you wish to learn more about Brian Crable's Agency Creek Expressions, you can visit agencycreekexpressions.com.